morning. Thank you for joining us today as we discuss how to turn on your marketing growth engine. Built upon a relationship of mutual respect, our partnership with FMG stems from our commitment to growing powerful, sustainable enterprises. Take our position as the industry's leading growth consultancy for wealth management firms, including succession planning, equity management, and M&A services. And then pair that with FMG, the highest rated and most utilized marketing platform for financial advisors. And you've got all the makings of an interesting conversation. Here with us today, we have Susan Theder, of CMO of FMG, and Eric Godis, SVP of Consulting with FPTransitions. Both Susan and Eric have spent several decades working with advisors, helping them run more efficient, sophisticated, and powerful practices. There are a lot of articles and tips out there around how to leverage marketing as a tool for growth. And that all sounds really great, right? However, there are some ground rules for curating the right environment to foster that fuel. First, having the right foundations are an absolute requirement. Understanding your strengths, goals, and constraints are all important to defining your marketing strategy and message. Both Eric and Susan have walked advisors through those exact elements hundreds of times, but never before at the same time. We are excited to hear what they have to say. Without further ado, I turn it over to Eric with this one question. How do I leverage marketing as a tool for growing my sustainable enterprise?
Thanks, Elise, for the introduction. And let me just first say, you mentioned multiple decades, and I have worked with Susan for multiple decades in multiple different iterations. I know, Susan, we're really still in our 30s.
We have to admit it.
It is super exciting to be able to do this together as we've been talking over the last couple of years. The synergies our firms have together are strong. And so many of the FPTransitions clients could really use the kind of expertise that FMG and their suite of products has. So this is really great. I wanted to just first go through. Go through some of what we're trying to accomplish today, and I put them up on the screen here because we wanted everyone to try to sort of center themselves on the key messages today. Most of today's presentation will be done by Susan. Lucky for you all, because she has some great content. But we really are hoping you understand, how and why growth-oriented firms, are building such powerful brands, what everybody should be considering when allocating your marketing dollars, a question we get a lot in our consulting practice at FPTransitions. How much client acquisition and retention impacts your business value. I think a lot of you people know that FPTransitions is doing over 1,000 valuations a year right now throughout the industry, and these are two big drivers of what creates more value for your firm. And then, of course, one of the main takeaways is, what does a properly executed marketing plan really look like? So let's hope we do that. Now, to get to the question I was posed, how do you leverage marketing as a tool for growing my sustainable enterprise? I mean, the short answer is you need to have a marketing plan, and that's really what we're going to hope to cover today. As I think about what most advisors tell us is, we really don't have any concise marketing plan. We rely on referrals, either from existing clients. We hope to get a greater share of wallet. We have a handful of centers of influence that we tap, but it's very few advisors actually have a marketing plan. So for that, we hope today can be helpful. Oops, sorry, moving along. A few minutes just to set the groundwork, because if Susan does her job well, and I'm sure she will, we're going to have some great ideas for growth. But growth is still going to be a struggle unless you really have yourself organized. And what do we mean by organized? First, we're finding that a lot of firms don't have all the right people already in place and all the right people in the right seats. So if you're going to prepare for growth, you have to make sure you're ready to accept all that growth. You need to make sure you have the capacity, to handle that growth. It pains us when we hear clients say, I'm closed right now, or I have a waiting list. That's a really hard combination to improve the value of your firm, to attract and retain talent. And we hope people can create the right infrastructure at their firms, that they don't have that as a hindrance. You need to have the right efficiencies in your firm to be able to handle things with the minimum amount of people. I think everyone needs to take a look at what their key performance indicators are. They need to understand how much business they can handle, how much they should be charging, how much volume each advisor could handle. Everybody should be doing a SWOT analysis: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. That'll be very important as you think about getting your growth engine really revved up. And goal setting, I think it's stating the obvious that people need to set goals. If you don't have set goals, it's really hard to achieve them. What we find is a little bit challenging is when the C-suite or the founder of the firm has set goals, but no one else in the firm understands what those goals are. So it's hard to have that misalignment. And then, of course, you always have to monitor it and course correct as you go along. Couple of things to keep in mind. These may feel very sort of closely tied to where you are, to make sure you've got these covered as you begin to develop a growth plan. Four biggest challenges we hear: growth and profitability, talent retention, succession planning, and M&A. Growth and profitability, we all get very lazy, or did get lazy before last year, thinking we had this tremendous growth because we saw the value of our AUM go up and our, and our revenue was going up. But of course, the real way to measure that is in net new assets. So that's very important. The second thing that people don't, we think, pay enough attention to is what's the profitability? What's really falling to the bottom line? In our work, particularly if we're doing internal succession planning, you really need to have 25% or so of your net revenue falling to the bottom line in the form of profitability. It's hard for some firms where the founder doesn't have themselves on a salary and is strictly taking a draw, but try to set a salary for yourself to determine what actually falls to the bottom line. That's going to directly relate to talent retention. Without growth, it's really hard to hang on to talent. You guys know this. For those of you that are a little more senior in your career, think back to the early days. Would you want to join a firm that wasn't growing, where your responsibility wasn't going to increase, your income wasn't going to increase? That wouldn't be attractive to you. So that's another reason that growth is really important. Succession planning, we find this often with our work, if a firm isn't growing and you want to transition your business to the next generation, it's really hard for them to afford it. So another reason that you want growth. And finally, M&A. I think everybody knows we handle both sides of the mergers and acquisitions equation. And I can tell you, in either side of it, a firm that's not growing is not that attractive. So many reasons that you want to keep your growth engine moving forward. Purpose-driven, I'll just read this. Purpose-driven brands achieve more than twice the brand value. Brands that focus purely on profit generation. Purpose clarity is directly correlated to financial performance. This is getting more and more important. I think everybody knows how difficult it is to differentiate yourself. Hopefully Susan will spend a few minutes talking to us about your website, because I find you can take most firms and put their name on top of anybody else's website. So hard to differentiate yourself, and both your clients and your employees are looking to see if they really feel strongly tied to what your brand represents. So talent, generally attracted to brands that fit their values. Think about ESG, SRI topics, for example. If you feel passionately about that, you want to be with a firm that also feels passionately about it. Focus and fit are very important. And your succession plan, you don't need to find someone that mirrors you, but you do need to find someone that shares your vision. So with those as sort of opening comments, let me get it over to Susan, who's going to give us some really actionable insights and ideas today. Susan.
Awesome. Well, thanks. That was a great intro. It's nice to virtually, I wish I could see everybody, but nice to be here. And thank you guys for joining us. I've got a lot to cover, so I'm going to talk fast. My favorite part of doing a webinar is having a lot of interaction. So please feel free to type in questions and we'll handle them as we go. I thought I'd start with something that I hear all the time. I think, Eric, have you ever heard this? I don't need to market, I grow through referrals.
I hear it every day.
Yeah. So, and I love hearing it because I have the perfect rebuttal, which is everything you do to grow your business as it relates to driving referrals or getting new prospects in your pipeline is marketing. And I'm going to show you the next slide here is really interesting. Let's see. Oh no, I did one of those things right. There we go. Hit the wrong arrow. Okay, so this is a, let's see, this is a slide from the Schwab Advisor benchmarking study last year. Driver of new client asset growth. So look at this. Client referrals represent a declining percentage of new assets. So the darker blue line is existing client referrals, black COI referrals, and the lighter blue is general marketing. And as you can see, as you get from the smallest to the largest firms, and then the differentiation, the last line is the top performing firms. The top performing firms have the smallest percentage of their total growth represented by client referrals, and marketing becomes a greater percentage of net new clients as you go up in size, obviously with the bottom top performing being the best. What's interesting here is I would argue that you do marketing for each of these categories. So with existing client referrals, they don't happen just because somebody woke up one morning and really wanted to help you out. It happens because you've done something intentional that gives a client a reason to refer you. And it doesn't happen if you don't do that. Same with centers of influence, referrals with business partners. That takes intentional marketing effort, as does other marketing. So I want to debunk the sentence that is, I don't need to market because I go through referrals. Even if you don't want referrals from centers of influence or doing other marketing, there is an absolute way to market more effectively to your existing clients to drive more referrals. So let's keep going. A couple more interesting data points. So I'm going to challenge anybody just to get the conversation going. There's a typo on this slide. Who can find it? Okay, so look at this far right graph. Eric mentioned that having a marketing plan is really important. Well, Schwab's study validates this. With top performing firms, on average, 56% of them had a marketing plan. And for firms even over 250, the average was 42%. So just a huge difference. Nobody's typing in a typo. All right, well, we'll have to keep going. But looking at this, the top performing firms, 56% of whom had a marketing plan, they also attracted 42% more new clients and 45% new client assets. So marketing is extraordinarily important to the growth of your business and the valuation of your business. In terms of how much to spend on marketing, we could spend a lot of time talking about this, but I wanted to throw out one quick stat, which was the top performing firms spent 2.3% on average of their revenue versus 1.5 for the top AUM firms and 1.8 for the smaller firms. So you can benchmark yourself against this. Here we go. Can I get a replay? Yes, we will do replays. Tom Brady. Oh, I love this persona. Oh my gosh. We've been talking about Tom Brady all morning. We could totally go off on a tangent there. So Tom Brady gets, well, Eric will have to work on sending him a present for finding my typo. So I hope everybody is in agreement now that marketing is important for all aspects of your business, that it is a fact that the top performing firms, the firms that are growing the fastest, they are putting together a marketing plan. They are defining a client, an ideal client persona. They have a clear value proposition and differentiation. And even if you're just growing from existing client referrals, there are absolutely intentional marketing and communication tactics that will help you grow faster. So one thing Eric just mentioned as well is your website. From a foundational element, if you think of marketing as sort of an ascendant journey, the website is the first thing. I mean, you've got to have a website. I'm sure all of you do, but I wonder how recently you've refreshed it, and I wonder if it is working as hard as it can for you. So I'm going to take you through some slides talking about your website. And before I get going, Samantha, my partner, Samantha Russell at FMG, she uses this example. She says, would you greet a new client in your pajamas? And if not, then you really better make sure that your website is dressed to impress. And I use a similar analogy where I remember so many advisors sharing stories of how they remodeled their office space and had a fantastic waiting room. And nowadays it is way more virtual. Your first impression is your website. So the care and effort you put into your physical appearance and your dress in the office and your office, reception area, that should be put into your website. So how do you know if your website is really working hard for you? I'm going to give you a couple tests. You should ask a friend, somebody that knows vaguely what you do, but wouldn't be able to articulate everything about your business plan. Have them look at your homepage and ask them to look at it for 5 seconds and then look away and ask them if they can remember, what do they remember about the page? Who do you serve? Why do you serve them? And what is the call to action that you want somebody to take? For most people, there's at least one of these where the person that's looking at it in 5 seconds can't answer all these things. So we'll send this out as a replay so you can actually put this test into play. In terms of best practices to make it easier to pass that 5-second test, one of the things we suggest is that you write a headline, in the hero part of your homepage, which is the most visited, obviously, page of your website, in a problem solution format. So in this case, helping business owners exit, that's the problem, on their terms. That's the solution. And then a very clear call to action. Let me show you a couple more examples. Oh, and this, I wanted to touch on this. This is this is from Advisorpedia. So in terms of differentiating yourself, one of the things that I think is a great opportunity is to think about what you do beyond investment management and financial planning and add that into your copy. So there's a huge gap between client expectations and the services that they believe are rendered. So look at this: financial planning and investment management. Expected 96 and 95%, received 70 and 88%. So of all of these, pretty close. So people think that they should get financial planning, investment management, and they do think they're getting that. But look at the other expected. So they expect this whole list of things. They expect you to be superhuman. Well, I'm sure you probably don't do all of these things, but I'm also guessing that you do some of these things. So again, when we send this slide out, this would be a great thing to just check off what are the things that you do in addition to investment management and financial planning, and make those part of your value proposition and ensure that those are part of the copy on your website so that they resonate and differentiate with your potential prospects who are visiting. Let's do some example homepages for inspiration. So one thing I like to point out is you don't want a lot of navigational elements. So here we've got what we do, who we are, how it works, fees, blog, contact. That's it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I think, right? 6 to 7 is really the max you should have. And I really do like, you'll see on a couple of these websites, what we do, who we are, who we serve, how it works, or sometimes people say services, fees, blog, sometimes people say resources, and contact. And you'll see this problem solution in a 5-second, glancing at this website. You're going to know, okay, this advisor serves people who receive equity-based compensation. Obviously, niche marketing is a lot easier to differentiate yourself than if you, serve a wide range of people, which is most. But they've used the subhead to put in, specializing in incentive stock, options, restricted stock, non-qualified. This type of subhead really helps with SEO. But you can tell this just speaks to the people that this advisor is going after. Another one with a very specific niche, financial planning for Gen X and Gen Y physicians. Couldn't get more specific than that. But again, look at the top nav. Services, our difference, who we serve, insights, the other guy had blogs, FAQs, contact, just really clean. And then schedule icebreaker call. Also, having a little bit more fun with your calls to action is a great thing to think about, just as a minor tweak. Like, tell us what brings you joy. Most people just say learn more or start here. Think about just even refreshing just your calls to action with something a little bit more creative. And then here's one where they serve wealth, insurance, and benefit advisors for business owners. So they're serving business owners. And this last one is more general, but it's very creative. Your financial future isn't going to plan itself. That's the problem. That's where we come in. Solution, start here. So I'll pause. I haven't seen Eric. Any questions coming in, or do you have any questions?
No, I don't see any questions coming in yet. So feel free to type them into the Q&A box. But a couple popped to mind for me because, of course, at FPTransitions, we feel like we're professional website readers since we're going through, 10 of these a day for our different clients. So let me ask you two questions. One is, how often should people really be reviewing their websites, either on their own or with a professional, and updating them? Because it seems like we see some that haven't been touched in 5 to 10 years. Yeah,
that's definitely too long. I mean, I think having someone, first of all, you should be adding content to it all the time. A stale website is not going to show up high in the rankings. Your visitors are expecting to see recent content, blogs, and other resources that are really important. I think, worst case, 2 years, without really revisiting and seeing whether you can make improvements. But it's kind of, let's say, we launched our FMG website in May, and we constantly keep a list of things that we'd like to enhance about it, whether it's feedback from a prospect or whether from our sales team. And we're making changes all the time, but not big changes, just little changes for advisors. I would say, maybe you're meeting quarterly and just taking a look and seeing if there are any tweaks that you can make, or every 6 months, but you should be adding content to it every month.
Makes sense. All right, one more quick question as you were showing those home pages. The last website I developed, we had lots of debate about having a really nice picture or a video. Do you have any guidance on that?
Yeah, well, if it was a people video, I'm going to say pause, because I think people videos work really well on the About Us, which is the second most visited page. What I like for video is having a moving image on the home page. And I can't show that in On24, but if you go to the FMG home page, fmgsuite.com, our public website, I think on our home page, if you scroll down, we feature one website, and it's got a moving, I call it a moving picture. It's like an animated picture, but basically it is a video. So I think those are much more captivating. In this case, it's an image of a beach, and the waves are coming in, and it draws you in. We're attracted to things that are beautiful and have movement.
Gotcha. All right. So you like that. So a question that just popped in from Michael, what percentage of advisors provide performance results on their website? I would say pretty darn close to 0.
Yeah. Well, with the SEC marketing rule, and I am no expert, so don't quote me, but I believe for the first time it really is giving you the guidelines and guardrails to enable you to, but I don't know any advisors who feel comfortable doing it or have done it. What we actually hear more debate on or more questions on is, should I show my fees? And I would say, I'm just guessing, Samantha would probably have a better guesstimate, but I'd say less than 25, maybe 25% of advisors have a page on their fees. And we believe that, I'd love to hear your opinion, Eric. We believe that transparency is a best practice, and that including your fees is beneficial. But Samantha posted recently on LinkedIn something about fees, and the comments blew up. It's obviously something where there's a lot of strong feelings both ways.
There are. I mean, I find very, very few advisors post their fees on their website. I think the feeling is they have negotiated fees, they have flexible fees. Yeah. They want to be able to explain their fees and what's included in their fees. And as a result, they don't post them on their website. But I think that's more personal preference than a best practice.
It is. There was a survey that came out recently. I think it might have been from Edelman, and it showed that the number one reason that investors do not use a financial advisor is perception of expense. So to the degree you can help refute that by, and of course they're going to be negotiated rates and you're not going to publish, 18 benchmarks and all that, but generally speaking, how you charge and whether, you charge a fee on AUM, but you also offer retainer or, planning fees, just describing how you charge, I think might be worth it just to debunk those that feel if you don't say anything, it must be too expensive. Just a thought. But let's move on because we got a lot going on. I think I'm going to just make a call right now. We're probably not going to get through all this, so we may have to have a second webinar to cover some of the topics we don't get to. But let's get through the website. So another assignment. So first assignment is to do the 5-second test with someone you know. The second assignment is to redo, or at least take a look at your About Us page. I could bet that almost everybody on this call has an About Us page, but one of the greatest opportunities, I would say the lowest hanging fruit on almost all advisor websites is updating that to be in the first person, to be more conversational and personal, not to just have your resume, put into a little box, but to really try to have the goal be that if somebody's reading it, they feel like they know you, not know what you did, but know you, a little bit about you. So when I send the slides out, it's too small for you to read, I'm guessing, but this is, we used to be you. Great intro. And then if you read this, it's their story. Storytelling works so much better than bullets of facts. So I was just working with an advisor to redo her website, and we were working on the About Us page, and she was sending me like, I got this award, and then I did this, and I've been in the business. And I said, let's just get on the phone. I just want you to tell me your story. How did you get into this business and why? And I just listened to her, and then I wrote it up. And it's so much more powerful. And you all have a story. Tell your story. You can weave in some of the things you're most proud of, but tell it like a story. And here's another example that I love. So very few advisors have a picture like this in their About Us. She's included her children and her husband, and she calls it About Meg. And see, that's me. And she very cleverly talks about herself. Before Flow, I worked for da-da-da-da. I grew up in the first person. Many people write in the third person. Well, I don't really feel like I get to know you if I'm, Eric went to blankety blankety blank. It's just cold. So anyway, huge opportunity. Everybody can look at their About Us, check out the pictures. Does it feel like it looks like who you are and how you want to have a first impression with someone? And does it tell your story? Anything else, Eric, or should I move on?
No, I think you're doing great.
Okay, so the third most visited page. So your homepage is where they first go. Second, they go to your About Us. And then the third page is contact. So it's very important that you have a good contact page. These calls to action, again, a really easy tweak to make on a website. Make sure that there's a primary call to action. This one, get your readiness assessment. You saw on the others, it was, what brings you joy? Be creative about how, what you put in that call to action. And secondarily, you have to have a secondary call to action for people that are ready to meet you. So in this one, it's book a call in that bottom left. And on this, oops, I just did my wrong arrow again. There we go. They're right next to each other. I wish I could ask for a show of hands, but if you do not have a calendar widget built into your website to make it easy for someone to schedule time with you, that is going to dramatically increase the conversions of your visitors. So that would be I don't know if I'm on to my fourth piece of advice, but that might be your fourth assignment. And I think that brings us to the end of websites. So I will pause before I move into some tips about social media. And all of this is in the context of encouraging you to build a marketing plan. And these are some of the components that could be part of it for 2023, starting off with your website. And now we'll move on to social. Should I keep going,
that's great, Susan. The one thing I'd say before we leave the website, I made the comment that it's really hard to differentiate your website. I mean, if you have a real niche marketing strategy, then it's easier. But most of our clients are more generalists. You know, they're handling clients from across the spectrum. But what you
Yes.
can differentiate is your About Us page or your personal profile page. People want to work with advisors they like, respect, think they have something in common with. We don't think it's hokey at all to say this is where you went to school and this is what you do in your free time. It's a conversation starter. So I wouldn't hesitate to put that in for those that don't have it.
Awesome. Yes. And it's so true. I think it's just, we're not, we're just not all comfortable getting out of that professional world thinking, well, we have to be perfect. We have to have a bunch of, degrees after us. And that's what they really care about. But I think more and more advisors that I talk to are realizing that it really is much more of a decision about the person, about what they stand for, as Eric mentioned. And so that has to come through, and it's a perfect opportunity on your website. So the other place where it shines through and where you really build your personal brand, and this is what complements your website and can drive users, prospects to your website, is social media. So one of the questions I get the most, and again, I'm really hitting on some what I would call low-hanging fruit opportunities for you to weave into your marketing plan, is how to expand your network on LinkedIn. Here are some examples. Every week you meet with lots and lots of people. I am willing to bet that you are not connected, first connections, with everyone you meet with every week. Do you have an approach or a discipline in place where either after you have a meeting or at the end of the week, you go through your calendar and you send connection requests to everybody that you've met with or spoken to? I'm pretty sure most of you do not do it. And it is so easy. It takes 5 to 10 minutes. I don't even encourage you to have to write some personalized message in the LinkedIn connection, although it's a nice thing to do. But just expand your network easily by, after you meet with somebody, either that day or by the end of the week, send them a LinkedIn request. It's the most natural thing, and 9 times out of 10 they're going to accept. And then all of a sudden you'll start, it's amazing, you'll start seeing your network grow. Another tip on the same line is that could expand it even more is email. So you're only meeting with a set number of people during the week, but you receive email from many, many more. It's just a way, because you've probably got lots of clients who you've never connected with. That should be a must do. Anytime you meet with a prospect, anytime you have a new client, you want to make sure you've made the connection on LinkedIn so that you can benefit from their networks and grow your own. So at the end of the week or the end of the day, or as you're in the middle of your day, if you have the discipline, if you get an email from somebody, you're like, oh, I don't think we're connected, you send the email back and send an email LinkedIn request. And why is this effective? Everything, we're always better at something when we have a system around it. So if it's the end of the week or the end of the day, whatever you decide works for you, having that and being repetitive, we all know is going to work better. It also helps you reinforce any of those meetings that you've had. And I think when you get a LinkedIn request, I don't think you ever have a negative reaction. I do these webinars and I'll get a bunch of LinkedIn requests and it makes me feel great. I mean, we're people, we love to have people want to reach out. And this is a great opportunity for you to reach out to centers of influence and expand your network with them as well. And I will also say, let's see, do I have another slide on this? The commenting strategy, okay. I have a story to tell on this one. The last thing is commenting. So most people are, including myself, a little reticent to post. I have really tried to get out of my comfort zone and post a lot on social media, but truth be told, in this little safe environment, I don't love doing it. I'm like, oh God, I've got to come up with something really creative. And what if people don't think it's creative? And it's sort of exposing. But an easy thing to do is to comment on other people's posts. And that actually, in the LinkedIn algorithm, can do as much or more for you than your own posts. So in addition to sending connection requests, the other thing I suggest you do is think about maybe your top centers of influence. They could be reporters, they could be estate attorneys, they could be CPAs, it could be business owners. Think about your top prospects, think about your top clients. And intentionally go in and follow. First of all, make sure you're connected. Go into your notifications. Notice when you're getting alerts if they are posting, and always comment on their posts. If you've ever posted, you know that it feels really good when somebody likes it, and even better when somebody comments. Well, that also helps their post get more traction in LinkedIn and be seen by more. So there's no chance there'll be anything but really grateful for you to doing that. And we get comments from people we've never heard of. And immediately, though, I suddenly feel like I do know them and I have a very positive impression. And if you do that repeatedly, that person will feel like they know you, even though you've really only introduced yourself through LinkedIn. So follow people that you want to be connected, that you want to build a relationship. The fastest way to virtually build that relationship is to comment on their posts, and it will be remarkable how fast your network will grow. And here's the other thing. My daughter just did an internship, and she did her first post on LinkedIn. I was so proud. And so I liked it and I commented on it. And within 3 seconds, or like maybe it was 5 minutes, but pretty quickly I went back and checked, and my connections were liking her post and commenting on it. So when you get people to comment on yours and you're commenting on others, all of a sudden your posts are visible to so many more people, which again expands your network and helps drive people back to your website and helps you improve your prospect. So yes. I will pause. Any questions coming in about?
Susan, let me ask you a question about that, because when LinkedIn first started, it was strictly sort of a business tool, and at least I'm noticing, and I'm sure I'm not alone, that the lines are blurring on what people post. Like you just said, lots of personal stuff. A lot of the posts I see, like, why do they post that on LinkedIn? Shouldn't that be on their Facebook page? These are 100% non-business related posts. Yep. Great time on my recent vacation. Is this something that you recommend?
Yes, I do. And I will get right to that. Just to clarify, my daughter posted about her internship. So that was a business post. Just to clarify, I got to clear that up for her. But yes, posting about personal stuff in the right way is a great strategy, but it has to be part of a broader strategy. So this, I think people know. I'm just going to quickly talk about other ways to expand your network beyond the add people to your net, connect with people that you've met with in your calendar, who you've emailed with, and make sure that you are commenting on anyone that you would like to establish a relationship with. The next thing is to look for connections that are connected to your centers of influence. And I'm guessing FPTransitions probably showed people this as well. But if there's an estate attorney in your area and you really want to connect with them, you pull up their profile, you can see where I've highlighted this 500 plus connections. It'll show that. Click on that, pulls up all of that person's connections, and then you can filter by whether you want them to be the second connections, whether you want it to be by business, by geography. And those are people that you want to send out connection requests and follow and comment on. And again, it's magical how well this works. And here's some examples. So the most important thing to share on social media is information that is of value to your target audience and your ideal persona. So you could have a target audience that's the center of influence. You could also have a target audience that's a prospect, and you could have different prospect audiences. So you could write content for each of those that would be very different. But the common denominator is asking yourself, would the person I'm writing this for find this of value? And although that sounds really simple, it's actually a really strong filter to know what to post and what not. A lot of times, we see things on LinkedIn and they're really a bit more self-serving, and the person hasn't taken the time to think about, how do I maybe spin this to be of value to my audience? So taking the time to do that. I have heard of more advisors that have grown their business just by sharing free, good information on social media. So that is the number one type of content to share. This is a great example of how to share those moments of pride when any of us get awards or something, and we'd love to just blast it out on social, be like, look, I won blankety blank. Well, this is the way to do it. You think about, and I'm not awesome at doing this, but this was so clever. 2 guys out for a night on town, well, dinner and a Red Sox game to celebrate a solid Monday. One celebrating his first day of camp and one celebrating being a top 100 advisor. I'll leave it to you to match. Brilliant. This got so much engagement, and it was such a subtle and nice way for him to tout that he became a top 100 advisor. This is another one. So we actually respond. So the sharing valuable content, I think, is really the best overarching strategy. But the posts that will get the most engagement are the ones that show you being you, human, personal brand type posts. So in this case, it's a way to show when this person was out, I think, with the center of influence in the US. So take pictures with your clients, take pictures with your centers of influence, tag them, and show yourself in pictures outside of the office. And here's another one of the get personal, to Eric's point. So stories, back to telling stories, are always the most engaged and the things that we're most interested in. So photos, personal anecdotes, they will always get the most engagement. The challenge is to write them in a way that doesn't, you're not sharing your itinerary. You're not sharing, your best restaurant tip. You're telling a story about what it meant to you. So think about, exposing a little bit of yourself to create a personal brand by sharing a story about something you've done. And hopefully there's maybe like a little bit of meaning or something that you took away from the trip. That's when I think sharing personal makes the most sense. Does that make sense, Eric?
It makes total sense. But let me ask you another question. I mean, clearly the slide you have up on the screen is a personal post, but we did have a question that came in. Let's say you're posting some value-added content. Would you post it on your personal page, your company page, or both?
Oh my goodness. Did you know what my next slide was?
There you are.
What a really good question. Yeah. Perfect question. And it's an art, not a science, but I believe that, first of all, personal posts are always on your personal page. And most of your networking on LinkedIn should be from your personal account. Almost treat your business page as a separate strategy. It is a place where, yes, absolutely, you share the valuable information. So you might share the valuable information. I might even alternate, like share it on the business page, and then you on your personal page share the business page post. So it starts on your business page, and then you share it, adding a personal, your personal thoughts about it, or why it's relevant to you, or as an example of, many of my clients come in asking about this, something like that. The other thing to do on your business page is talking about employees, sharing stories about your employees, showing times when the company has done any kind of employee engagement or philanthropy or a client event. Those are all business page things. And it is ideal to have a face of the business. And then that face of the business, like in some ways, Samantha and myself, mainly Samantha, is posting a lot on her personal page, but her objective is still business. So I don't know, hopefully that answered the question, but most of your posting really should be on your personal page. All that strategy that I talked about, connecting and commenting, that should be from your personal page. You should be posting actively on your personal page to build your personal brand. Your company page will never get as much engagement as your personal. And a lot of times what we'll do is I'll post, or Samantha will post, and our company page will share what we posted. So it's sort of this reciprocal nature where it's heavier on the personal and the business page has its own strategy and you share back and forth. Does that help?
Makes sense.
Good. All right. I have to stop and breathe because I'm talking so fast. I hope everybody can follow. Am I boring you to death, Eric, or is it okay?
No, I could hear you give these tips all day long. Keep going.
Okay, good. I think I'm actually I think I might get this all in. So the next is, believe it or not, email is still king. I know it's not as sexy as social media, but it's easy, it's free, and especially as it relates to generating more client referrals, it is the gold. Well, that and surprise and delight are the main ways to do it. So I'm going to show you a couple stats that we're interesting. So this was a Y charts study, and the question was to investors: how would you prefer your advisor send you his perspectives on the marketing, on the market, economy, saving, or any other financial matters? And it was email by a long shot. Just because I do hear from advice, my clients don't want me to email. My clients don't want me to email more than once a month or whatever it might be. You know what? There is no formula. There's no client that is saying, oh, I got 2 this month. It's all about whether it was of value. If it was valuable, you could send them stuff, every other day. It's just hard to send things of value that often. But don't use the excuse that I don't want to bombard my clients or they don't want to receive email. They do, and they do want to hear from you. They want you to be reaching out to them. And this is another comment that I think brings that home. 9 out of 10 clients, so 90% of clients, consider their advisor's frequency of communication and their style, their sort of personal brand, their personality, when deciding whether to retain, and most importantly, well, equally importantly, to make referrals. So the way and frequency that you communicate in email with your clients has 90% to do with whether they're going to refer. So when you think of your marketing plan for this coming year, one thing that all of the things I've talked about are important, but perhaps this might be the most, which is increase the frequency and type of communication you do with your clients, and you will see improvement in referrals. And of course, you probably all have magnificent retention, but what's going on in your client's mind, the less frequently you communicate, and a newsletter a month does not count, the less likely they are to be really engaged. So half the survey wished that their advisor communicated more frequently. And here's one last slide, which shows, you may not think it, but 20% of clients switched from their advisor in 2020. And that's when the markets, I think, were still good, right? I'm losing track. It's, now in this volatile market, it is imperative that you're communicating with your clients, and 1 in 4 considered, 25% considered. So don't underestimate the power of email, of communicating valuable information and updates. We do a program at FMG where I actually write the content, and I write usually 2 to 3 emails a month, 8 social posts, and 2 blogs, as well as additional niche content that can be used for specific audiences. And that's what we think is a good number of touch points in a given month. So think about where you have opportunity to up the content and communication in email. And then I'm going to end on a tactic which is probably the highest level of difficulty, but it really isn't that difficult. You guys are on Zoom all the time. If you don't do webinars, they are a great way to generate leads. And I know that most of you would really just like the easy button and say, I'd just like leads. Can I just push that button? And there isn't an easy button, but this is as close as it gets. So we did a survey with wealthmanagement.com, and it was like a advisor marketing benchmark study. And only 23% of advisors were doing webinars, and only 14% were doing blogs. So content is difficult. It is. And that's why I'm passionate about FMG and what we do, because we can help in that category. But webinars are underutilized and a great way for you to drive leads. So thinking about, well, what do I do it on? Well, what are the questions that you've been getting over the last month or the last quarter? Think about what your clients and or prospects are talking about. The other really easy thing to do is what Eric and I are doing, which is invite a partner. You don't have to do it yourself. You can invite an estate attorney and come up with a topic that benefits both of you, or a CPA and a topic that benefits both of you. I've seen lots of successful webinars that are on wellness, and there's a financial advisor, but there's also a nutritionist and a stress management person. I mean, you can be very creative, and it's always easier to do it with somebody else. So that's a great way to sort of split the work and also benefit from their network. So you'll invite your clients and prospects, but they'll invite theirs as well. So that's something that I would definitely consider. Here's just a screenshot of an advisor who was doing a comparison of Biden and Ways and Means, and just, you know, just a typical PowerPoint, but it engages clients. And it also is a great way to bring in prospects. And that gets into how do you market it. So advisors that tell me they have tried, they're like, but nobody came, you know, how do I get anybody there? Well, we suggest, the other thing is obviously you can leverage the content. You can leverage your webinar by posting the replay on your website, by taking the recording and making it a blog, by sharing it on social. So content is really sort of the baseline of all of your marketing, and webinars are a great way to add to it. So how to get more registrants? We think you should send at least 3 emails, 1 a week before, 1 a day before, and 1 an hour before. And the percentage increase over 1 email, so you get 85% higher if you just send 2, 215% if you send 3, and then another bump if you send the 4th reminder. Now that sounds like a lot of work. So for those that are interested in doing this, one of the most popular features on FMG is our presentation and webinar promotion tool. So we have a bunch of different presentations. This is one of the most popular that was just posted, which is the State of the Markets 2023. It includes all of the slides. It includes the script and the talking points. It includes takeaways if you wanted to have it in person. And then best of all, and I don't know if I have a screenshot of this, I don't. We have a wizard that basically you type in the name of your webinar, the Zoom link, any details, and it automatically creates a landing page with a form for registrations. When somebody fills out the form, it goes into your FMG inbox, and then it will automatically trigger emails and social posts to go out at various sequences between the time that you send it, between the time that you launch the seminar and the time that you're having it. So it just automates that whole process. So you just go through this wizard, you tweak the emails, you tweak the social posts that are already written for you, and then hit go. So people really love that and get huge, huge increases in terms of attendance. So with that, we are getting close to, well, we're wrapping up, and I just, typically hear at this point that I've talked too fast, covered too much, and people are overwhelmed. So FPTransitions is a fantastic company. I've been involved with them for years and years and years. And Eric and I go back to when I was at Fidelity on the RIA side, and you were in an RIA.
I was.
So we're a great partnership. It's fun to see how all of our careers evolve. But if you're interested, FPTransitions, we've worked with them to put together a special deal for their customers. And you can either email us at FMG through marketing at FMG Suite, and I can take care of you, or we have a dedicated microsite, and we will send this replay out and include this link, but it's micro.fmgsuite.com/FP/transitions. That's a lot. It's a lot for me to say, but we're going to send out these slides, and in the email, we will provide this link. But also feel free to email me with any questions. We want to make this easier for you. We are passionate about you and your business and seeing you grow and be successful. And they're just some relatively easy, low-hanging fruit opportunities for you to either do on your own or to supplement with FPTransitions and/or FMG. So
Yeah,
let's go to the next.
I just wanted to make the comment, if some of you are feeling like a little overwhelmed or a little inadequate because you're not doing all those things, most aren't. You know, what we find is it's really only the largest firms that have a dedicated chief marketing officer or someone that's really devoted to it. Many have someone that does a little bit in their part-time, or does it with, one of the 6 hats they wear. But I find rarely, unless you're a $1 billion plus AUM firm, are you going to have the budget and the interest to hire a full-time person. This is why, we reached out to Susan at FMG, because smaller firms that don't have full-time people to focus on this need it automated. They need someone else that can do this work for them. So I know if you're interested, you can check out that microsite. You can see the variety of options you have. You can be as involved as you want, or you can outsource most of it. So in my work with clients right now that say, I don't have the time or the expertise to do social media, I say that's not an excuse anymore, because now we have services that you can outsource this all, and it's not very expensive. So think about that. If what Susan said resonates and you think this could help you, I would check into it. I'll just make one other quick comment. It just happened last week, talking to someone that's just getting involved in social media. They really, I don't know, they got convinced to do it by someone in their office. And lo and behold, they just picked up the largest client that the firm has ever brought in. And when they asked this person, who referred you, and they said, I did a Google search of advisors in my area. I mean, this person is now a complete believer. So, Susan, I don't think we can say that's always the case, but it happens. And it's
well, they will. I think you can 100% say that whoever gets referred to you is Googling you. So it is important to, why don't you try it out and see if you Google you or Google Financial, have somebody else, because your IP is already tracked, but have somebody else Google you and see where you come up. And SEO is super important, and social media plays into that. And what they see when they Google you, whether it's coming from a referral or just cold, makes all the difference. And I'll just show you, this is a quick example. This is our Do It For Me calendar. This is October. Over the weekend, I was approving our February calendar. I've already started working on our March and April. And we also write real-time content as things happen. But this is what a content calendar, in my opinion, should look like. For a lot of advisors, that's way too much work. But this is what we do for advisors who want the Do It For Me program. And as Eric said, you can, advisors range from those that want to do everything themselves and they are passionate about marketing, to those that are like, please just do it for me. So this is the please just do it for me. But bottom line, Eric and I and our firms are here to help. And I think the next step is just maybe do 1 or 2 of the assignments that I talked about. And then if you're interested in talking more, just reach out to either of us.
Yeah, Susan, just to take care of a couple of questions that popped in, and then we'll get to this recap slide. Ty asked a question, just to repeat from a few minutes ago. How many emails, blogs per month do you think are optimal? You said you can't be too many, but was there some guidance you can give there?
For our Do It For Me program, which I am helping to devise the calendar and the content, about 2 emails in addition to a newsletter. So I kind of don't, the newsletter is just sort of a drumbeat. So 2 emails on various topics, then 2 blogs, and I try to do like 8 to 10 social posts.
Okay, so quite a bit. Christina just asked a question about compliance approval of these emails. Everything that comes out of FMG, would you consider compliance approved?
I'm a 24 and a super 24 who's just, I'm more of a marketing 24. So you don't want to trust me always. So I have this, more of a compliance 24 minded person that reads my stuff. And then all of our, if you have a compliance team, or if you're with a broker dealer, our content routes through the compliance team before going out. And if you edit it, they see your edits. It just highlights whatever you edit. So we are writing for the SEC and for FINRA. And then there's the added layer that, depending on what firm you're affiliated with, or whether your own RA has a compliance team, our content can route through them to be approved before it goes out. But you can feel very good about, we're not saying guarantee anywhere.
All right, great. Maybe our next webinar we'll do something on testimonials, which is, of course, the hot topic right now, but we didn't touch on that today.
Yeah, that's still sort of the wild, wild west. Nobody's quite comfortable there yet.
It is. It is. So thanks, Susan. Just for a quick recap, it's important, you're building a powerful brand. Hopefully Susan gave you lots of ammunition of why that's important. You really need to sit down and understand your goals, what you want your brand to look like before you embark on this marketing plan. It's going to be hard if you just go in saying, I don't know what I want to do or what I want to accomplish. Be intentional about it, just like you are when you do the rest of your business planning. That third bullet point is an interesting one, right? Acquiring a new client can cost 5 times more than retaining an existing one. So all those different touch points that Susan mentioned, the website, the ability to refer, all key in retaining clients and getting referrals. And then making sure your marketing plan, hopefully you've been inspired to create a marketing plan for this week. You need to have the website, social media, email, webinars. If you don't do them all, if you're not doing any of them, dip your toe in the water.
Exactly.
Get started with a couple and test the results. We're guessing that you'll be impressed by it. So like Susan said, we're here to help, and we are really excited about this partnership. And if you have questions for either of us, reach out to FMG or reach out to your contact at FPTransitions. We thank you for joining us today. And thank you, Susan.
Thank you so much, Eric.
Okay. Take care, everybody.